want to thank KPFK for being that, and KPFK. It's all Pacifica, brothers and sisters, for being that crack in the electronic Berlin Wall. I report from exile for the BBC and the Guardian.
Here's the mic.
Okay, is that better? Make sure that you can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, you need? No, you can't hear me.
Yes.
You can hear me. Okay. All right. Thank you. So I report from exile from across the water, so I appreciate the fact that I have been snuck through. I've been snuck past the electronic news border guards to be allowed to report here and for Democracy Now!, all Pacifica stations. I want to, and I want to thank you for being here, because it means something, and I hope it's going to mean something to you. And I want to give thanks to Project Censored. And I don't want no more goddamn Project Censored awards. I don't want to be censored anymore in my own home country, for God's sake. But thank you, Project Censored, for bringing me over. Mickey Huff, Peter, Phillips. I want to thank Andrew and the whole gang at KPFA. I want to thank Moe's for still being a bookstore. And you're going to have to take some responsibility there for that one, guys, tonight. It's that or the box or the big muddy river with piranhas in it for you. And I want to thank especially Dennis Bernstein and Flashpoints. You know, I got to tell you, when I broke a story back in 2000, I'm in England watching all these black people come in front of cameras and they said they couldn't vote. And I thought, maybe there's some, you know, maybe some computer program wiping out black voters off the voter rolls. And then when I found the program and put it on the top of BBC Nightly News, and everyone said, oh my God, this is going to change the election, the Supreme Court hadn't acted. And so it was on channel, it was on the top of the Nightly News in Britain, the front page of the Guardian newspapers, all over the world, how the election had been stolen by removing black people from the voter rolls in Florida and in the United States. It was on channel nowhere, except for, I got this call from this crazy guy in San Francisco who put me on the air and said, what's the story? I knew that was the end of his career. Dennis Bernstein is a San Francisco, Berkeley treasure. But I'm not going to let you keep him. We're taking him national. And I want people to know this, that starting next week, we're going to be doing a national broadcast for Pacifica, a Billionaires and Ballot Bandits Pacifica broadcast, because we need to get his word, his information. Bob Perry, some terrific people. Robert Knight. We're going to tell you what's going on, I hope. I'll be joining him. What an honor. What an honor. And what a poet. You know, he's a poet. Okay? And his stuff's so good, it doesn't rhyme, but it's really good. But it's about, he you know, he used to, before he had kind of gone off the path, before he went on the straight and narrow, he's a confessed teacher. He was a school teacher, and he writes about that. You gotta read that book. So now, tonight, forget that, I want to take you back to 1992. Ralph Reed, the president of the Christian Coalition, and bless you for giving us this church. So the Christian Coalition, which I'm sure is represented here tonight. Ralph Reed, president of the Christian Coalition, turned to Judy Liebert, who is his chief financial officer, and said, why don't you take a gun and just blow my brains out? And I was thinking, is there a God? No, that's not. See, he'd been sent a subpoena by federal investigators who wanted to know about mailing lists. Christian Coalition is a not-for-profit charity. Okay? The money's for higher purposes. Right? And they had a list of 3 million names which somehow got used for another purpose. To create voter guides for churches, which would push, not too subtly, the candidacy of George Herbert Walker Bush. Which is interesting because the chairman of the Christian Coalition, Dr. Reverend Pat Robertson, just a couple months earlier said that George Herbert Walker Bush was the unwitting tool of Satan. But Satan needed a voter guide. The thing is illegal. It's a crime to take money from the Lord and give it to a bush. Why? Why? Well, what was it for? What was the purpose? To sell the Lord to the lordly, to the believers? No. It was election theft, of course. It's because the illegal way to bend the election, to say that the Lord's endorsed somebody. But what Robertson did, okay. See, what I want to explain is that no one, the reason this book that I've written is called Billionaires Ballot Bandits, is that no one steals votes to steal an election. No one steals votes to steal an election. They steal votes to steal the money. Reverend Robertson does not like being called Reverend Robertson. I know that because when I went to go visit him, I do remember his words very clearly because I have my cigarette lighter with me. Now I don't smoke, I have asthma, so the cigarette lighter happened to have a tape recorder inside. He doesn't like to be called Reverend. He likes to be called Doctor because he says, I'm not a televangelist, I'm a businessman. You know what his business was? This year began with Coney 2012. Remember that film? Kind of like, here and gone. Child soldiers. It's a real issue. Whatever you think of the film, that's a serious issue. There are guys who kidnap kids, murder their families, put guns in their hands, and turn them into murderers. They usually into the murdered. But Coney was just a copycat criminal. The first guy, the child armies, is named Charles Taylor of Liberia. Okay. Charles Taylor, madman, cannibal, trained economist at the University of Amherst. That's a common combination. I can tell you, I was a student double frequent. Charles Taylor seized the presidency of Liberia. And the Reverend Dr. Businessman Pat came to him and said, I know you've done evil things, and I'll offer you absolution. By the way, can I have a diamond mining concession? Taylor was accused of running illegal diamond mining, but whose diamond mines were they? Dr. Pat Robertson. Okay. Who then went to George Bush and asked Bush to be kind to the dictator, murderer, Charles Taylor. Because there's a lot of diamonds in God's kingdom. Now, why am I telling you this? Back to Dr. Pat's list and the gun. See, Judy Liebert gave me this information. She's letting me use her name. She was the chief financial officer. And when there was a subpoena, she went through their records and started pulling out the evidence which would put Dr. Pat and Christian Coalition Ralph Reed, president, into the Who Scout until the next century or thereafter. And Ralph started taking papers, the evidence against him and the Reverend, and throwing them on the floor, having them shredded. And she said that seemed like an un-Christian thing to do. And when she mentioned that, and didn't take the suggestion of pulling the trigger, they fired her. And they tried to bribe her with $50,000 to shut up, and she didn't think that was Christian. What's this about? So I talked to the Reverend. And the first question I asked him was, you ran for president. You said God told you to run for president. The Lord himself told you to run for president. How could you lose with a campaign manager like that? And he said, the Lord told me to run. He didn't tell me to win. And what I've got is a list of 3 million names, and no one will ever be elected from the Republican Party without coming to me. And that's true today. And those who stray end up like Rick Santorum with their sleeves ripped off their sweaters. Now, what's changed? What's changed? Today, Ralph Reed is not in prison. Today, Ralph Reed is running the Mitt Romney evangelical operation with a list of 17 million names that he is sending voter guides to. 17 million names, and 17 million voter guides that go to 25,000 churches to tell you that the Lord has picked Paul Ryan for you. And now it's legal. Completely. Completely. By the way, one of Robertson's lieutenants said that he never saw him pick up a Bible or pray unless a camera were on, except for one time when they were taking planes that were really meant to take food to Rwanda. They took them to the Congo, filled with Pat's diamond mining equipment to his Congolese diamond mines. And Pat asked everyone on the plane to pray for diamonds. That's what's about, all money. Today, so why is it legal? You know, we've been talking about Citizens United. And I'm going to tell you which citizens were united, and it ain't pretty. But there's another decision that went with it that no one seems to know. It's called SpeechNow.org. And Republican National Committee versus FEC, which said that charities may politic as much as they like. Okay? That the Lord may donate as much as he wants, or at least what you can steal out of his collection plate. It's changed everything. And it means that there are charities which can now charitably help us vote, including one called American Crossroads. American Crossroads is run by a guy that George Bush gave a nickname to, named after a flower, Texas flower, called Turd Blossom. Karl Rove, also known as Bush's brain, so you know what Bush's brain is. Rove, as people say, he runs a big super PAC. No, he runs a charity. It's a charity called Crossroads GPS. It is a charity under the IRS code, and that way, and charities, you don't have to say who gave you the money or where it came from. That's very, very important. Where does the money come from? By the way, if you look in Billionaires and Ballot Bandits, this little tome, my voter guidebook, also put out by a not-for-profit organization, except we really are not-for-profit. There's a chapter called Balancing about these super PACs, about these charities